Hey, this is the Fight Nerd here at the Bellator Press Day, now with Tito Ortiz, the People's Champ. Tito, how's it going today?
Doing really good, man. Enjoying New York so far. Got in late last night from Virginia, so it's New York.
That's right. Now, first question, obviously, do you miss being retired? It didn't last too long.
You know what? I didn't miss being retired because I think that I really was just trying to get away from the company that I was with prior. And once I got away for the full year, then the idea of coming back and fighting was a great interest. You know, a lot of things at home were pretty much over with relationship-wise, and I was able to kind of restart my life and love the train. When you start loving the train, you want to compete again. I mean, I feel really young. You know, I'm 39. People say that's a little older, but I feel young. My body feels great after having the surgeries I've had, and to compete at the level I'm still competing at. I love to compete, man. That's all it is. I love to entertain. I love to compete, and the way to do it is get in the cage and fight. But you got to put in the time in the gym, and I've been doing it, and it works.
Now, I do want to ask you something else before we get into fights. I'm not sure what you can tell us, but can you tell us any information about the current lawsuit you have against John Ibarra? Is there anything you're allowed to talk about?
We're not really. I think we're going to trial, but the truth will be let known. You know, the truth always comes out, so it's just one of those things that I'll just wait, and everybody will know after the trial is over. I think that's about as close as or as deep as I can get into that without any legal stuff happening. So we'll see.
For fans who don't know much, is there any background you can tell us about what's happening with this lawsuit?
You know, he's a public name, public figure. In my opinion, at the time, he took advantage of Rampage with some money during a camp, and I just said that it wasn't right for him doing that, and it was strictly my opinion when I said those things, and he took it that I was trying to hurt his business, which was crazy because he opened a gym up like 4 months later, and he's trying to sue me for calling him names, which is trash talk. Well, I think all of us fighters do have trash talk. So being sued for slander is kind of crazy. But I mean, he's a public name, I'm a public name, and I would just strike in strictly my opinion.
All right, we'll stop it right there because we don't want to get you in any further trouble. But yeah, let's talk about now some Bellator stuff. We finally saw you back in the cage against Alexander Shlemenko, and there was a lot of negative criticism about that fight because there was, you know, here's Tito Ortiz, big light heavyweight, fighting guys naturally middleweight who had a lot of trouble getting to that weight class, it seems like. So do you have any response to that kind of criticism towards that, towards fighting basically someone that was definitely very smaller?
You know, the size, none of that stuff was even an idea before I was fighting him. Everybody's saying, oh, he's going to smash Tito. Tito's not even going to get out of the first round. He's going to kill him to the body. You know, he's going to head kick. They're saying so much stuff. And being a 5-1 underdog, and then me dominating the way I did, as I thought I was going to, and putting him to sleep as quick as I did, then all of a sudden people are like, oh, that was a gimme fight, you know, and Tito's going to win. We all knew that. But prior to that, people were saying, oh, Tito's in there to take a dive to make Shlemenko's career or whatever. I'm a fighter. I'm one of the best light heavyweights in the world. I mean, I've shown that time to time. People said, oh, Tito didn't win for like 5 years. But those are all, you know, decisions that I lost. You know, they could have gone either way. And I'm fighting against the top 5 guys in the world always. I've always have. Since day one I have. And any one of those fights that I lost could have gone either way. But I think I really resonated and made a statement by putting away Shlemenko the way I did. Because he puts away people like that. A lot of people. And, you know, he came in at 201, you know, fight time for me. I was about 220, 218. And I was a little bit small for that fight because I know he was faster. And I think I was catching up to his speed. I made him look a little slower. It was just when that guy called me out and without even thinking twice about it, I said yes. And I don't know, before I was a guy that wasn't supposed to win, but after I beat him, then it was a lose-lose situation. I should have beat the guy. There shouldn't be a problem. But he was, you know, the champion. He's 51-7. I mean, the guy had more fights than I've ever had. And I just made a statement that I had to do to show that I was one of the best, and that night I did. And if he would have beat me, people said, oh, Tito's over and da-da-da. But sorry, people. I didn't mean to mess up your future.
So it seems like, you know, the odds in terms of the booking odds are definitely against you. Do you like being an underdog kind of person?
I love being the underdog. I've always been the underdog my whole life, even growing up as a kid. I wasn't supposed to make it, and I'm just proving it, you know. Living the American dream can make you do anything. I really don't believe that any of my dreams can become not reality, so that's why I make it into a reality when I dream of something, and I'm going to make it a reality every time I fight. And now I want to be a world champion, so I'm going to make that a reality of being a world champion again.
All right, now let's talk about some of the other fights that happened that same night you made your comeback. We saw King Mo taking on Rampage. Your thoughts on that fight? I mean, who do you think actually won that fight?
Rampage won that fight for sure. Yeah, he's more aggressive. He did get taken down a couple times, but King Mo never caused any damage on top. Rampage caused the most damage. You can see a person's face of the strikes that were hit and connected, power shots. I think Rampage pulled. I'll give him a split decision that he pulled, but I think he still won 2 of the 3 rounds for sure.
Now, obviously, when you guys first came to Bellator, it was being built up as having Rampage versus Tito dream match, but that didn't happen for a few different reasons. Do you still want to have that fight with Rampage?
Yeah, of course I want to have the fight with Rampage, and he wants to do the same thing too. We want to give the fans what they want to see, and that's the best fight possible. And me and him competing against each other, it'll happen. I know it'll happen.
Do you have any interest in fighting King Mo at all?
No, I just think after my last fight of winning and him losing, it just doesn't do anything for me. I want to hunt out getting the world title. So, either I fight for the world title now since Rampage doesn't want to fight Emmanuel Newton, maybe becoming the world champion, and then fight me and Rampage fighting for the title, giving the fans what they want to see.
Now, how many fights do you feel you have before you do hang up the gloves for good? I mean, we know you have a big deal at Bellator. You're going to be fighting for a little while longer. Do you think that after that deal's up, you might hang up the gloves for a bit, or keep going?
I don't know. I just got to go by how my body reacts. I got 3 more fights left. If I continue winning and retire as a world champion, that's possible. But with having Viacom and Spike TV behind you and them offering a deal you can't refuse, you never know. But I just don't want to overstay my welcome. When I left with UFC, at the time my head wasn't in it. My body was taking a lot of damage. I had some stuff at home I had to take care of with my kids, and I did that. I got full custody of the children now, and my life are my children. And number 2 is my fight career. And I think I made this mistake when I was the world champion with my oldest son, Jacob. I put him second. I should have never done that. And I learned, I learned from my mistakes, and I just correct them and never make those mistakes twice. And, right now it's about getting a world title around my waist, and, I want to fight the best guys possible to make that happen, and Emmanuel Newton's the first one in line.
And congratulations, by the way, on getting your kids back.
Yeah, thank you, man. I mean, as a single father, it is very tough, but, my hat's off to all the single parents out there. It's possible to happen. Anybody can do it, these kids weren't asked to be put on this world. They didn't believe they can do it, so we're trying to give them the best thing possible so their lives are happy. That's what I'm doing.
Right now, big news from Bellator. Scott Coker took over the company from Bjorn Rebney. Do you have any thoughts on this? I mean, what was your immediate reaction when you heard that Bjorn was gone and Scott's coming in?
I was really happy. Actually, Scott Coker is a stand-up guy, great name, a hard worker. He understands business. What he did with Strikeforce to make it a threat where UFC had to come in and buy it, he's doing the right thing. And he understands of making superstars. It's not just about making a brand of Bellator. It's about making superstars the fighters. And that's what I think we should be showcased as. We are the modern-day gladiators who are the entertainers, and it's not the promotion that's the big business. I think the business is the fighters. When fans start falling in love with each and every one of the fighters, where they could watch their careers be successful and flourish, that's when the big money is willing to be made. I guess you can say the proof is in the pudding if you watch how boxing used to be. And they make superstars. And when you get over 1 million pay-per-view buys, Floyd Mayweather is the one to prove it. He's still making huge money that there's no market at all in boxing. So I think MMA is just going to take over. And with a person like Scott Coker behind it, it's going to happen. It's not a matter if, but when, and when he could do it. And I think it's really soon.
Now, you mentioned you were excited to see Scott come in. Were you sad to see Bjorn go, though? I mean, do you guys have a strong relationship?
I'm not really a person to talk smack on somebody. Business-wise at least. I made that mistake once before. I could just say one thing. Bjorn just didn't follow through a lot of things that he promised me. And when he walked away, I think he got something a little bigger and better than he thought he was going to get when it was all fine and over with. But maybe he's happy that he is gone, so he doesn't have to worry about each and every card to be successful and have his name on it. But I'm just happy that Scott's a part of it. I like him. Me and him are really close, actually. So we'll just give the fans what they want to see in some of the best fights, and Scott Coker make that happen.
Right now, you mentioned, of course, Coker's going to bring the best fights now. What other changes would you like to see Coker bring to Bellator now that he's in charge?
I think he already made the step of getting rid of the tournaments. Tournaments actually were just to make champions, to show that the champions that they have are the best in the world. They fight against each other and go through the tournament rank, and the champ become champion. Then all of a sudden the next tournament, and I gets a chance to fight against the champion. So now I think he got the top guys at each weight class in Bellator, so now they can start fighting against each other to be a world champion. And bringing in some other big names possibly would be great that Scott can do. I know he has some good relationships with a lot of bigger names, that guys that are in UFC or maybe have a free contract, and hopefully they can get them over here.
Are there any free agents that you want to see come to Bellator that you'd like Coker to pursue?
I'm not sure if he is a free agent, but outside Overeem, I'd love to see Overeem over here. I'm not sure if he's done. He might be. Well, Nick Diaz got re-signed at the UFC, so maybe Nate. Those guys, man, those guys are awesome. I love the way they fight. They're really, really tough. Got a huge heart, and I don't know. I guess I got to look at the lineup and see what all the other free agents are out there. But if guys want to be shown for what the skills they have in the cage, I think here in Bellator is the place to be.